cloud. Boom. Welcome, everybody. We are on session 4 of our Wednesday solar trainings. And today we have another great guest. One of the better guests, awesome guests. Obviously, we don't compare here, but all the people that we have on here are great. But so we have Jake Hess, who obviously doesn't need an introduction, but we'll let him introduce himself anyway. How you doing, my man? Thanks for jumping on.
Hey, thanks, Manny. It's good to be here. I'm pretty stoked. I For those of you that don't know, I actually live in San Diego next or where Manny used to live. And we used to hang out a little bit. Manny taught me quite a bit, and we got into solar, starting our businesses around the same time. So I've leaned on him a lot for some questions. He's a smart man.
Well, the your sales org was obviously something to talk about. It's fun running into each other when you're selling, but always, man, these guys are hard, tough one to beat for sure. They're coming in. It's like, oh man, how are we gonna sell this deal now? Great teachers at the helm. All right. Well, today we're gonna talk about a few things. Let me get this slide going. Everything you need to know about solar sales commissions. I love this subject, and I think this is a very, very important subject, and I'm glad that so many people are here, and that we're going to record it because the content that's going to be on this recording is going to be worth gold, and everybody here is going to level up. Trust. All right, Jake, let's start with, well, here we go. Founder of the Solar Academy. Give it
Here
up
we
for
go.
Jake Hess. Joe Malsacchio, his partner, is also here. Say what's up. These two guys, man, everything you need to know about solar is in these guys' pages. Like follow their groups on Facebook. Together they run the Solar Academy. And then we have Jake Hess today. So let's get started with subject number 1.
All right, let's
Do you
do it.
want do you want to start here? That's a heavy
Um,
one.
you know what? This we can start here. This is definitely a popular question that a lot of people have. I wanted to have my iPad ready to show you guys the math, so we're just going to have to resort to a spreadsheet, but I think you guys will pick it up just the same. But yeah, dealer fees can be one of those pain points in the industry for sure, and how to calculate them. So I'm here to show you the proper way to do that. And then I don't know when Q&As happen, but I'm also happy to answer any questions about dealer fees as well that people have. Like, for example, why are they so high? But Manny, I kind of wanted to follow along with you here. You wanted me to do you want me to show people how to calculate a dealer fee properly?
What is a dealer fee? I mean, I think we talked about that last week, though. But I think really quick, just what is a dealer fee and why?
Yeah.
Why should we
So,
pay them?
so dealer fees, a lot of people feel like they don't like them, but they're actually really good for the industry. If you look at a solar loan, or if you look at a loan that is not in solar, you don't get to do a loan for 20 or 25 years, especially if there's no collateral against it. Think of a car loan, for example. You can go and get a car loan without any dealer fees usually. And the reason they're able to do that is because if you don't make your payment, they can come and collect your car away from you. But with solar, they don't really come and take those panels away. So it's what's called an unsecured loan. Basically, your homeowner is just signing that they'll pay the bill with really no reassurances that that the banks will get their money back. So in order for these banks to even make any money at all, yeah, there's a horrible example. Sorry, John. Sometimes I use analogies and they don't fit, but try to read between the lines if you possibly can. um, but yeah, if we don't have these dealer fees, then we can't do these loans at all, because if you have a 1.99% interest on a loan, that's not enough money for a bank to stay in business 20 years from now. If your loan is for a 25-year loan and the bank is only living off of 1.99%, then no one's going to do that type of loan, right? So the only reason banks are able to even give these loans out so that we can go and sell solar and keep our monthly payments as low as we need to is because they allow dealer fees. and those dealer fees kind of allow us to spread the payments over 20 or 25 years. Is that good, Manny? Oh, I'm catching Manny off guard here. All right. So just to kind of hop into it a little bit, I'll go ahead and explain to you guys. I don't know what's going up on the screen right here. We have an Apple settings situation, but I'm going to steal the screen a little bit. So you guys feel free to go ahead and ask questions. But what I have here is just a simple spreadsheet. Normally I would do this on an iPad to show you a little bit easier. But when dealer fees are being calculated, let's say that you have an 18% dealer fee. What you need to do, what they try to do is they try to multiply the number 1.18 times the total cost of the system. So if the system costs $30,000, then what people are trying to do is multiply this by 1.18. But when you do that, you don't actually get the right number, because watch this. If we take this number and we multiply it by 1.18, that gives us 35,400. But what's going to happen is the bank is actually going to take 18% of this, right? They're going to take 18% of their dealer fees, 18%. So they're going to take 18% of 35,400. So all we have to do is do this times 18%. They're going to take out 6,372. And when we do the math, this minus this, then we realize that we just lost $1,000 because we did multiplication instead of division. So the important thing for you guys to remember is not to multiply when you're calculating a dealer fee. The proper way to do it for a $30,000 loan is to divide. Okay, so I'm just going to put the little divide symbol here. But what you do is you take 100% and then you minus, or 1, and then you minus this, whoops, this equals 1 minus 18%. So that leaves you 82%. So what you do over here in this formula is, instead of multiply by 1.18, you divide by 0.82. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this number equals 30,000 divided by 0.82, and that equals 36,585. Now you can see the number is already different, right? So now when we take our 18% out of this number, then we're going to go, this equals this times 0.18. This equals this. And for those of you that are quick at math, you can see where this is already going. Now we have ended with the exact number. This is the cash contract. The cash contract has the exact number that we need from the dealer fees. But remember, in order to do that, you take the dealer fee out of 100%, and then what you're left over is what you divide this number by in order to get your true cost when you're rolling in a dealer fee. That kind of went quickly. Hopefully that makes sense. Manny, do you have any questions or anything you want to add to simplify that?
Yeah, well, not simplify, but definitely a strategy to help kind of put these things and understand it better is grab a napkin or a notepad or something that you, when you want to calculate a commission, or even before you go into a deal, and break down the numbers. Okay, if you want to start, you can start out at the end, or you can start out at the beginning. What I mean by that is you can break down the cost of a system, and this is where it becomes important to, once you learn how to do this, you go to another level. It's you have to learn how to break down the contract amount, the loan amount, which in this case is 36,585. Now, out of this, you got to break apart all the pieces in order to figure out where you want to be, right? So, like Jake just mentioned, the hardest thing to understand how a dealer fee is going to affect a cost of a system. We all know what the baseline is, right? Everybody's install EPC baseline, right? That's what the installer charges us to build, or what your dealer charges you to sell through them. It could be classified as anything like that, right? So from that baseline, the next thing you want to calculate is your commission, right? I would start there. I mean, I know how much I want to make on this deal. So if I want to make $5,000 take your baseline, which I don't think we have 30,000.
Uh-huh.
No, that's the total, and that's the total cost, right? Including commissions or whatever.
Okay.
And yeah, because your loan amount, all we have here is a dealer fee. So out of that $30,000, I will have to I have to calculate what my baseline is. So if our baseline is two, so let's take this in the system size. Let's put a six kilowatt system on here. So let's say that this is a 6 kilowatt system, and the total cost to build, not including dealer fees, is $30,000. So that leaves us with a price per watt of what? So 30,000.
50,000.
It should be $5, right?
Uh-huh. Yep, it's $5
Yeah.
is your price per watt.
So you know, first of all, you want to divide what the system size is by the cost to build, and that's going to leave you with $5 a watt, right? So it's easy. It's easier to understand things when you put everything in a price per watt. You kind of have to, you know, you have to know what the wattage of the system is, because that's going to help you with everything. All right. So in this case, we're dealing with the 6 kilowatt system. The total cost to build is $5 a watt. And let's say I want to make a dollar 50 on this, right? Actually, let's put the baseline at 275, for example. System baseline is 275, and it's a $5 per watt sale price. So if there are no adders on this, and we're going to include adders right now so that you guys can kind of start breaking down. So base adders. Let's add a little column for adders, and let's call adders, I don't know, 25 cents for an MPU, and let's say another 20 cents for a flat roof. Let's call it 45 cents total in adders, right? That's another thing. You guys need to add up all your adders and then convert that to price per watt. Okay. So everything is gonna click once you break down the price per watt of things. So 30,000, $5 per watt, and then you start breaking down the baseline, the commission that you want to make, plus the adders, right? So first of all, you have to consider adders, because if you don't consider adders, and I think that's one of the topics here, right? Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll jump into adders here later, but so here you go. What's the commission on this? There's only these things, right?
Yeah, so what you're saying is if we have a system size of 6 kilowatts or 6,000 watts, and our
Mm-hmm.
red line or our base, those terms are kind of interchangeable, is 275, we need to look at a project and understand we kind of need to dive inside the mind of an installer and look at what their expenses are going to be. When they go look at it, when you guys look at a house, you're looking at a house and you're like, man, can I sell this house? What type of person is in there? I need to go into this meeting. I need to crush it. Installers, that's not their world. That's your world. Installers look at a house and they go, huh, I wonder how much it's going to cost me. I wonder how fragile those tiles are, because if I walk on those things and they break, I have to replace them. And they wonder how far is the house from the building, because I have to pay all of my installers W-2 wages to drive from my building to that house. A contractor is looking at a home and at a project, and they're looking at it very different than you. They're wondering, how do they protect themselves for this base red line that they gave you, despite all of the variables that they might run into a home, and those are called adders. Contractors looking at the house saying, how can I possibly be profitable on this job and not lose any money? So they create this long list of adders that they want salespeople to recognize. And that's why you guys are on here, so you can start to recognize those adders and begin to do the math properly. So like Manny is saying, on a system size of 6 kilowatts, if your base is 275 a watt, then all you guys have to do, and this is the long way to do it, and I don't mind, but if you take 275 a watt and you multiply it by a 6 kilowatt system, that's your cost of your system. But then a contractor and yourself, you should look at it and say, oh, you know what, there's going to be an MPU on this, and we can show you guys a little bit about that later. There's going to be an MPU on this, so I need to add an additional this times this. I need to add an additional $1,500 for an MPU. Now that is a cheap MPU. Good job.
Yeah, no kidding. I was just gonna say that. That's a
You
cheap
guys
one.
did good. But let's get it more about to what it actually is.
Yeah,
And that's probably a little bit more accurate.
yeah. COVID shows me 2,500 now.
And then we're going to take this one times this, and that gives us a $900 adder there. So now here's your base, and that's accurate. But now you have these adders that you have to add on to your base. And even when you add those on, how much commission are you making still? That's a big zero, because you're making $0 right here, because there's no commission to be had, because this is simply just the cost of the project right here. So in order to figure out how much commission you want, that's really easy. You guys might look at a job and you might say, oh, you know what, for this house, I want to make $3,000. Or this person is really nasty to me in the beginning. I want to make $5,000 on this house. Or maybe even you want to make $6,000. That means your total commission is going to be $1 a watt, because $1 times, let's do this math here. This equals $1 times 6,000. That's a $6,000 commission. Now, what you do is you just add all of these up and you get $25,500. So all of these equal $25,500 is going to be your total system cost. Is that what you wanted to go over, Manny, on those adders?
Well, in this case, our loan up there is for 30,000, so there's an extra 4,500 bucks there floating around.
Yeah, and we
But you
can,
get the idea. I think we just change that. There you go. That
yeah,
that
we
to
can change them.
25.5.
Yeah, we can increase it $500. So, we'll do that. We'll do that another time. But you guys get the idea. All I want you to do, now that you have this total cost right here, how do you add on a dealer fee? And I'm going to explain it one more time with this new number.
This
You
is
never
important.
to calculate a dealer fee, you never multiply. Someone in the text box, if you guys don't mind, shoot over a message of a dealer fee that you're very familiar with. And Manny, yell it out to me once you have it, once someone messages it in there. Here we go. Someone said 25% dealer fee.
Yeah,
Okay, so all
25%.
you do is you take 25%, you have 100%, right? And you just, let's do 100. Let's just say the 100 is a dealer fee, but it's not a real dealer fee. The dealer fee is actually 25%. So all we do is we take 100% minus 25%, and that gives us 75. So now with this number right here, we never multiply. What we do is divide. So this number equals this. Whoops. I'm going to change this up and put 0.75 right here. So this number equals this divided by 0.75. And that's how you calculate your dealer fees, my friends. The 25% doesn't matter. That's just a signal. That's a bat signal telling you, hey, you have to do additional math. Whenever you see a dealer fee, that's not all. Do additional math. Take that dealer fee minus 100 and divide it by your total cash price. Here's your total cash price. Minus 100 equals 0.75 divided by this gives you 34,000. Now, when we take 25% out, okay, 25% equals, whoops, 25% equals this times 0.25. That's 25%. And as you can see, we take this equals 34,000 minus 8,500 is the exact same number that we wanted originally to begin with. I hope that makes sense for you guys. You divide, you do not multiply when calculating a dealer fee. All right, so I'm going to go ahead to the audience here real quick, just to make sure that we have some information. I just asked someone to unmute with the hat. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Is that me you unmuted?
Scott. Yes, it is.
What's happening?
So I just want to make sure some feedback. Did this make perfect, crystal clear sense to you?
Yeah, it made a lot of sense to me. I understand it.
Okay, good. Now, if we look at this model over here, this is how you lose $1,000 in commission, is multiplying. And it typically is $1,000. It's anywhere between 800 and 1,000 bucks by multiplying 1.18 instead of dividing. So same thing over here. Don't make the mistake. We divide with dealer fees. We do not multiply. All right. Thank you,
All right.
Scott.
Real quick, before we move on to the next slide, I wanted to share my screen. And we have a commission calculator that we're going to share with you guys. It's just an Excel sheet that looks like this. I mean, this is going to help you do things easier and faster, but I suggest you start, using a calculation, using a spreadsheet, writing down your numbers and double checking at the end, making sure that everything fits. Another quick recommendation, if you guys are still kind of new at figuring out what adders are, and we're going to go into that next, always add in at least 30 cents for yourself, you know, so that you don't get caught with any surprise adders and it eats up your commission. So just cushion yourself a little bit. And then, if you need to eat up 10, 15 cents, even 40, it's not going to be such a big hit, right? Yeah, and this is the commission calculator. It's pretty simple to use. Do we have to just fill out these? I'll show you guys how to do this in a quick video when we finish sharing this. So let me go ahead and stop sharing and share this other screen. Are we good with the last one?
Yeah, I believe we know how to calculate dealer fees properly now.
I think so. You did a pretty good job of explaining it with that sheet. And then if you guys have any further questions or anything like that, or want to reach out to Jake later, please do so. But obviously, you got to talk to them about what that looks like. So dealer fee calculations, knowing adders. Am I sharing?
So the next topic is knowing your adders. Is that right?
Yeah, hang on. Am I not sharing my screen? Let me try this one more again. I shared it on the wrong one. Oh, there we go. Knowing adders.
Yeah, so kind of what we talked a little bit about when you guys are going to a house, contractors they don't really speak sales, meaning contractors are contractors generally for a reason. This is definitely stereotyping. It's kind of like a salesperson at Best Buy versus someone in the Geek Squad behind the desk. Sometimes they just don't have as the best customer service that we're hoping for. They're very technical based usually. A lot of times they base things off of numbers and P&L sheets and losses and profits and quick math. The salespeople, we understand emotions. We understand emotionally how customers are going to take things and how they're going to receive them. So what we need to do is when we're at the house, in order for your customer to start giving you referrals and get referral based business, you guys have absolutely got to know your adders, not even just referral based business. So you don't lose your accounts. If you guys go to a home and you don't know how to calculate an electrical panel, if it needs an upgrade or not, and the next company does, then you're going to lose simply because you don't look like the professional anymore. And so one of my favorite things to talk to homeowners about is adders. When I look at a home, kind of like contractors look at a home and they say, I wonder what expenses are going to be. Are those tiles going to break? Do I need an electrical upgrade? If I lay those panels flat on the roof, that's less material needed than if I tilt them facing south. They have to buy that material to tilt them. That's an additional expense. That's why we call them adders. It's an adder to your red line because there are additional expenses that the installer is going to incur. So your job as a salesperson is to know the technical and put it through this filter and translation system in order to speak to it emotionally for the homeowner. So one of my favorite things to do with the homeowner is look at other competitors' proposals. And I say, with that many solar panels and those inverters that they quoted you, it does look like you guys are going to need an electrical upgrade, but even further than that, because you're in California and it's next to that gas line, we're going to need to do a relocation as well. So you're looking at about $12,000 to $13,000 because they have to cut through your driveway. unless we take one panel away, if we just take one panel off, all of that can be avoided. There is no electrical upgrade. There is no relocation. We don't have to cut through your driveway. And you might get a bill from a utility company for about $3 a month. Which one would you prefer to do? And simply because I know how to break down these adders and I know what to look for before I even walk in the house, simply because I can do that, I don't have competition anymore. Adders is one way for me to eliminate my competition. So all of you out there, when you hear people saying, hey, it's not important for you to know technical stuff, those people are right. You can sell without knowing any of the technical data. There's no question about that. You can sell lights out. But when you come across someone like me or any of the team or people that I train, then you can't sell anymore against us. But you can sell if you're not competing with us, right? So you know, and it's one of my
true.
It's one of my favorite things to say. When I go into these solar groups and I hear solar people talking, they say, "Oh, you don't need to know that stuff." And I said, in what world? All of these books that we read, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, in what world do we live in that people think that product knowledge is not necessary to sell things, right? It has been proven time and tested since the caveman times. In order to sell stuff, you have to have product knowledge. And unfortunately for solar, adders are part of that product knowledge. And it's up to us to capture that knowledge and translate it to an emotional place for homeowners to be okay with it, right?
I have a recommendation, and I wanted to say something about it. I'm gonna bring Brandon on really quick.
Sure.
Thanks for that very clear explanation of that. And I do want to say that what Jake is talking about is when you're walking up to a deal that you're going to go pitch, or whether it's virtual or in person, the first thing you got to look at the roof and then the electric panel. If the homeowner's there to greet you, bring them out with you. Talk to him about the roof. Talk to him about the main service panel. Like, oh yeah, this is a 100 amp. This is a Zinsco. All right, you know, just go in there talking about these things, and it just makes you an expert, you know. And the more you look at these things, the more you start noticing ratings on a panel, how many breakers are in there, where the gas line is in reference to the meter in California, you know, things like that are definitely going to win you more and more jobs. Now I want to do Brandon is on here. Go ahead and unmute yourself real quick. This guy right here is our top, or you know, he holds up my entire design team. Like, this guy right here can eyeball a house and tell you how many adders and all this, because he's been trained, you know, to go on the street, go on Google Earth, ask questions, you know, do all these things, and start knowing, oh, wait, that looks like a tar and gravel roof. Looks like it's about 8 degrees. We're going to need to peel off this and do that and do some tilt ups and do all these things. And you can see all these things just by going on Google Earth or on the street. Even before showing up to an appointment, you have to know most of the things. Like, if this house was built in the 70s, it's more than likely that the panel is original to the house. I should probably ask this question, or have the sales rep ask this question, right? Hey, before you show up, you should maybe make these probing questions about, you know, hey, how old's your roof? You know, how is the electric panel original to the house? Most homeowners will actually surprisingly know about it, and they'll say, yeah, it's original, it's 100, or I need a new one. They'll just tell you right away, I need a new one. And so definitely bake that in, because if you're doing that while you're at home, you know, trying to put in adders, and if you forget to click that button, you know, that's why Brandon here is trained to do most of these things for you guys. And that's what really sets our design team aside, is that, you know, we're going to get you the closest to best design that we could use, and that's with Aurora. First and foremost, we look at things on Aurora, and then we can zap it off to Go Solo or Sonobi or whatever it is, right? So everybody say hi to Brandon. We know that guy. And then anything else y'all want to talk about as far as knowing adders? Jake, are you
Yeah,
pretty good on this one?
yeah, I wanted to talk about adders a little bit more, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
for sure.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen a little bit with you guys. I pulled up a couple things for you guys to see. One of the things that I pulled up is right here. Can you guys see, Manny, you can see that
Yep.
okay?
Yep, I see your list of adders. Yep.
So in my organization, and I know Manny has a list as well, these are the most common adders that can come up. And if you guys don't understand what these adders are, then you're really hindering your sales. You're really hindering your ability to close projects. And even further than that, one of my favorite things to teach people is all the time I get questions of how do I get more leads? How do I get more people coming in? Should I buy leads? Should I go knock doors? How do I get better at it? Everyone's constantly chasing leads. My argument is, look, if you've already sold accounts, maybe you could double your income. And I don't mean maybe, I mean literally you could double your income if you know your adders, because companies recognize these adders before sales reps typically do, and they have to deduct it out of their commission. Why do they deduct it out of reps commission? Because sales reps are too afraid, and I agree with you, I'm also too afraid to go back to a homeowner once they've signed a contract and put my tail between my legs and say, by the way, we have an additional $3,000 in expenses that we need to charge you. Now, when your commission is $4,000 and you have to put your tail between your legs, go back to your homeowner and say, hey, you just lost $3,000, then the homeowner, the chances are they're going to cancel on you. You don't look like a professional anymore, and they're definitely not going to refer you. So so sales reps, what they do is they take that hit themselves. And I'm going to posit it. I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to say that all of you sales reps out there, I know that you guys have had commission taken out of your check that you did not anticipate, but not me, not Manny, and not some of the top people, because we recognize these things and we build it into it as we're selling the project. That way we're in the home, we can build the value of the adder and what it means to them. So if you are looking at a list like this and you're not able to understand what it means, or more importantly for a salesperson, build an emotion behind these adders for the homeowner that where they feel like they're benefiting, then you're not doing your job as a salesperson. You don't have the product knowledge and you're not converting it to an emotional based platform for the homeowners. The other thing I wanted to show you is just an example of what my sales reps do to the installation partner that they send things to. Is we send an anticipated commission for a homeowner. This is an anticipated commission. It was sold for this price. Here's the red line. Here's the adders. Here's the total commission, the system size, and the cost. Simply emailing this provides clarity to you before it gets too late with your homeowner, right? And it's a very good understanding for you guys to do this. It's a good audit. So if a contractor of Manny starts to pay you, and all of a sudden there's a surprise that it's $2,000-3,000 cheaper, that's on you. That's not on Manny. That's not on the installers. That's on you because you didn't recognize it. So that's all I want to say about adders, Manny.
That's great. I'm actually we have all this information in Podio when deals are signed and it's broken down, but I like the idea of sending out an email with a breakdown. That's huge. I think we're gonna steal that one. All right, cool. Hopping on to the next one. I gotta share again. I'll let you share here in just a sec. All right. So that was knowing adders. Again, all this is going to be sort of typed out, and after each slide, we're going to include the notes of everything that we're talking about. So you can also always refer to that later. Now we hop on to adders with separate arrays. I think this is a pretty quick one. You want to take it down?
Yeah, this one's kind of unique, you guys. This one is not one that most that you'll get in most trainings, but Manny wanted to make sure that we got you guys everything that we possibly could in this. Sometimes when adders are being calculated, people don't realize that there's two separate arrays. For example, what if half of your system size is on a flat roof and the other half is on a pitched roof? We see this a lot with detached garages. A detached garage, you put half of it on a flat roof and then on a pitched roof on the home. Now, when you do this, you should treat those arrays like two separate houses when you're calculating adders and commission. A lot of companies and a lot of sales reps, they say, oh no, there's a flat roof adder. And then they charge that 15 cents for the flat roof adder on the entire cost of the system, including the panels that are tilted on the roof already. Contractors don't necessarily like you to catch this kind of stuff, but hardly any sales reps do that. What they do is a contractor will say, hey, you had a flat roof, it's 15 cents for the whole entire system, not just for the separate array. A more drastic approach, a more drastic explanation of this is, what if you do a partial ground mount and you do part of it on the roof? Just maybe there's codes that wouldn't allow you to do the full array on the ground. Who knows what the reasons are? We've done 2 of those in my career, but those are completely different adders. And so you should not pay for adders on the ground that you pay for on the roof. So pay attention to these separate arrays if you ever come across them, and make sure you're catching every adder.
I do want to add, though, from an installer perspective, as I was on the roof for about 8 years, commencing my career in solar, I hated putting up an array that was just 7 feet away from this array, even if it's on the same roof. Holy shit, it's half a day worth of bending conduit, running cables, terminating, new plugs to plug, it's quite an ordeal to separate a system like that, and that's why they call it a separate array. Now, if I go back to the early days and when we had like solar training books, they showed us that a solar panel was actually a whole like array, and they called an array like 2 separate arrays, and they called the solar panel is actually called a solar module, and so on and so forth. And so when you think about arrays, if there's any 1 or 2 feet of separation and it requires conduit, it's going to be an adder, because it's a lot of work, guys. I mean, it takes somebody, 3 to 4 hours just to put together this connection between arrays. It takes conduit, man hours, and all these things. That's why they charge you an extra whatever it is, right? So, yeah, just don't be surprised by these things. So learn to kind of see that, even if it's on the same roof plane. And I know a lot of people are like, that's the same roof plane. Well, it doesn't matter. They're separated. And this is a contractor thinking, like, it's going to cost more money to do it, buddy.
Yeah, like what we have here on this picture behind there is 2 separate arrays, even though
yeah,
they're on the same roof plane.
Anybody have any questions about adders with separate arrays, or shall we move on? That is a shall. Production discrepancies. This one's awesome.
All right, guys. This one is.
Yeah, I did have a quick question, real quick, if you don't.
Yes, Scott.
What about should there be an adder for a pitch degree?
Yes, there should.
Yeah.
I wanted
think
to talk a little bit specifically about each adder. I was thinking of doing that at the end and running through that list I showed you and just doing a 20-second explanation of why there's an adder on them. But one of them is the tilt and the pitch of the roof slope. Now, the reason that is an adder, you can imagine if any of you have been rock climbing and you've harnessed yourself in and tied yourself to ropes to climb up that wall, try carrying a 40-pound solar panel up that as well. Those roofer or those installers need to almost rappel down very steep roofs with a 40-pound panel, and they're going slow. They're complying with OSHA. They're tied in with carabiners and stuff. They're rappelling down to put it on a steep slope. It just takes more time. And with more time, you have to pay more W-2 employees as an installer. And that's why there's an adder on that sloped roof, because the installers they're competing to get your business all across this entire country with every other installer. And so what they want to show you is the lowest red line they possibly can. And then they have the adders for every variable, but a homeowner should not pay for a steep roof adder if they're in a flat roof house, right? So that's why they break it down like this, because they want to get you the lowest price they possibly can and not penalize other homeowners for these additional adders.
Well said.
Okay.
You good with that, Scott? So just rule of thumb, anything over like 28 degrees is going to be an adder. 28 degrees is kind of where your foot starts doing this. So anything above that. But typically you're going to fall within the 18 to what is it, 24 degree range.
Yeah, and I want to show you guys what I would do if you want to take it. If you want to take it to the next level, for any of you that have been in elementary school, when I was, the teacher would roll out on these squeaky wheels a projector that had a head on it that would project onto a white screen. But what they would place is they would grab a sheet like this, and they would print it on a clear piece of plastic, the same size as a page, and they would put it on, and it would project this image onto the screen. All you do is you take that clear plastic with this on it printed, and then you just hold it up to the roof. You could be standing on the sidewalk and hold it up to the roof and just match the slope of the roof, looking right at it. You just move it around and match which one it is, and right there you can tell how steep that roof is if you need to. There's also apps on the phones now. I'm a little bit old school.
I like the old eyeball method. Kind of
That
works.
looks like
It's about 4 feet. You can do that. You can do that. All right, let's move on with production discrepancies. This one, all right. I mean, this is a pretty good subject to talk about. And the only thing I can say is before heading into it is these are going to matter depending on the finance type, depending on the installer. Some of these things, some installers don't really enforce a production guarantee, or they don't offer it to their customers. And so when you don't offer something like that, it kind of sucks because you're kind of doing a disservice to the industry and to your customers by not offering a performance guarantee or and production discrepancies. I'll let Jake get into it, but most some installers are going to rely on the solar panels production guarantee, and that's basically saying it's just throwing the blame on something else, really. If one of you made if your sales rep or somebody made a mistake in terms of production and stuff like that. So we have, and we're talking to Omidian. I don't know if you guys have you heard of it, Jake? Omidian.
no.
So it's a third party insurance company like Solar Insure, for example. I know they're going to be at SolarCon. But Omidian is a performance guarantee insurance. It blankets pretty much anything. So you can layer on Solar Insure, you can layer on Omidian if your installer doesn't necessarily offer that on the contract. So if you wanted to give your customers a little bit of an extra oomph, also it helps you sell more deals when you're just throwing on warranties like bam, 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 I got all this, right? It helps the sale a lot. Like I've overturned decisions that where my bid was $5,000 higher, but they didn't have a 30-year warranty. So they're like, I don't want to worry about things later. So anyway, I'll let you talk about production discrepancies if I didn't already cover the whole subject.
Sure. Yeah. This one I could probably spend an entire day on, but I'm not going to. But I really want everyone on this channel to understand and know that warranties from the manufacturer. Let's just talk about sill fab panels in particular. Warranties from the manufacturer, when they say there's a 25-year performance warranty, that is actually not on kilowatt hours produced for the house. That's a major discrepancy that sales reps have been taught or that they understand. Manufacturers have no interest or responsibility to promise you that their solar panels will produce kilowatt hours because they have no idea what crazy installer is going to put one solar panel on a south-facing roof with no shade and the other one underneath your kitchen sink in your house. How can they give the same warranty on power output or production kilowatt hours if that's the case? They cannot do that. Power output warranty or performance warranty that you're all referring to is actually the ability for an electricity to run through the panel at any given time, not what it produces for the house. And so when you talk about degradation on those warranties, what they're talking about is all of those little micro cracks and breaks within the solar panel as they sit in the sun for the 25 years. They know those panels are going to break down. They know that some of those combiner strips of metal that make the power go down to the inverter, they know those are going to break. That's degradation. The ability for sunlight to be transferred to that inverter is degradation, not how much power it's going to produce for the house. So where we get into issues with, was that too deep, Manny? I want you guys to see this 30-year.
You're good, man. Keep going.
This 30-year limited power output warranty. Not one place in this entire section does it talk about kilowatt hours. I want you guys all to know that kilowatt hours is something that we make up on a proposal. And there is no entity in this entire country that says, hey, you quoted that homeowner wrong. You told them 10 solar panels was going to make 10,000 kilowatt hours, but this other company is saying that 30 panels are going to make 10,000 kilowatt hours. Which one is right? Let's say the homeowner picks the 10,000 kilowatt hour one, or 10 panels. There's no entity that's going to come and slap them on the wrist and say, don't promise them that. Kilowatt hours that are on proposals, they are not on contracts unless it's a PPA or a lease, like Manny was saying, depending on your financing. So kilowatt hours become very important for installers. If you are doing a lease and a PPA, let's talk about Sunrun, for example. Sunrun actually says they will come back and penalize and fine an installer if they're not accurate within 5% of that contract. And so what the installer does to protect their butts is they add a new solar panel on that roof and they charge you for it, because they want to make sure that they stay within that 5%. They want to make sure they hit the production that they promised. If it's a loan or if it's cash, put it up there. Who cares? If they need more, they can call us and buy it. There's really no repercussions, right? But depending on the financing, their butts will get fined from SunPower, from Sunrun, from Sonova if they're not accurate within a certain amount. So what they do is they add solar panels on, and where the cost of those solar panels come from, if you guys have ever seen your EPC or your EPC drop a little bit, it went from $3.50 to $3.40, is because they added panels on, and just to meet production requirements. And they're protecting their reputation, their 5-star reviews. They're protecting the expectations with the homeowner. And you guys are the ones that pay for it, because you don't want to draw shade in the house that you're supposed to. You're like, wow, my EPC came back at $4.50. No, I didn't draw those 10, 30-foot trees because I wanted a $4.50 EPC. Well, guess what? The installers are going to draw those trees in for you at a much higher level, shading it, which means they have to add more panels to the contract to get the same production you promised without the trees. You're the ones that pay for that. Draw your designs as accurately as possible. If I see a 30-foot tree, I draw it 40 feet. I want my EPC to be lower, and then I can charge the homeowner more so I get all the commission I want. I don't want the installers to come back and say, hey, we needed to add some extra panels so that you could meet production, and so your commission dropped. I don't want that. I don't want that for my reps. I don't want that for my team. I don't want that for my accounting department.
Preach. Well said. Yeah. What I was gonna say? Oh yeah, trees. About trees. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there really quick. Sometimes trees will end up on a design when they're not even supposed to be there because they cut them down last year, and Google Earth is still showing them. So again, take a look at it. You might not even have the shading that is on the original design because the trees are gone. So that might even improve your commission, obviously,
Yeah.
and your production. So it could be the reverse, but just always kind of mindful about these things. Am I sharing screen? Yep. Am I? Let me
No,
share the screen.
sometimes I still screen and it kicks you off. So you're not.
It's all right.
There we go.
All right. So we're gonna roll through a couple more topics here. Effects of system size changing. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's run on this one.
So when that EPC, remember that EPC had dropped, like let's say it was $3.50 and it dropped down to $3.40. That might be okay sometimes. Sometimes you might be okay with that because sometimes the system size gets larger because they added more panels. Even though your EPC dropped down to 340, because the system size is larger, 340 times the larger system size sometimes gives you more commission than 350 with a smaller system size. So before getting all upset at Manny or at the installers or anyone else, just do the math on the new larger system size, because it might even be the same or you might even be making more. If you're making a little bit less, like $500-600, who cares? I mean, that's just that just comes with the territory. It's part of selling solar. You sometimes when you're playing basketball, you get fouled, the ref doesn't call it. Who cares? Just keep playing the game, right? There's some things that we need to complain about and some things we don't. But just do the math on the system size changes to see if it's around where you wanted it to be. If it's way too much, then we can start bringing out the guns and start chatting with each other about who made faults where, right? And I'll tell you now, 99% of the time it's on the sales side.
A lot of things could be avoided. Only if they're charging you adders after PTO. Like I had one installer just send me a commission sheet with like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this adder. I'm like, what? No, no, no. I know. Is that in the? I think it's in one of the next topics though, but that's an important one. Watch out.
Sometimes I'm okay with it. Sometimes you guys, empathy will take you a long ways. I know Manny's saying that now, but I've also seen him go, you know what, that makes sense. Because sometimes we just make human errors. Sometimes we simply make mistakes. Could you imagine? We talked to Scott a little bit earlier. Scott, could you imagine if I came to your house and I said, if I mow your lawn, will you give me $100? And you say sure, and they accidentally give me 1,000. Could you imagine if I just called you up, you called me like, hey, dude, I accidentally gave you 1,000, and I was like, I don't care. That's your problem. That's your fault. Like, hold on. If there's errors that were made and we were paid that money, sometimes we need to be a little empathetic and be like, that was an honest mistake. Here's your money back. If as long as it's in our contract and it's on that adder list, right?
Definitely, definitely. Is this wrapped into unforeseeable contractor costs? By the way.
Yeah, it's a good segue into it. So
Okay.
a lot of times when I have to tell you guys some stories, we went to a house. One of my reps went to a house to do a project, and you have this beautiful looking home with a sloped roof. But the weirdest thing was when we were on Google designing it. When we were in Aurora designing it, all of the images were a flat roof. We were like, what is going on? So we made it a pitch roof. Went to the house. It's clearly a pitched roof, but when the roofers got there and they lifted up the shingles and stuff, there was some holes in the plywood. For God's sake, that's incredible that happened, and they could see all the way down to the flat roof. Somewhere they hired someone to come and put framing on to put a pitched roof, and then they put comp shingle up and everything, and it wasn't permitted. They looked down the hole and they were like, "This is not the roof." They added this on there. That's wild, you guys. Who does that? Another one, it was a sloped roof, but they added a platform on it of 12 inches to make another sloped roof, and then they put roofing on that. In between there was raccoons and bees and all sorts of stuff. And it's things that contractors can't see until
Dude,
they started the project.
we ran into one where it was tile over comp over wood shake, dude. I'm not even fucking kidding. I was like, what? Who did this? They just 3 layered up on the house. Holy
Oh my
crap.
goodness, you guys! If a contractors want to do your jobs, they want to do them. If they come back and they say there is no way we can do this, then don't blame them. That's the homeowner pulling some sort of shenanigans that they shouldn't have pulled.
Definitely. Unforeseeable contractor costs, trenching. I'm saying it because we just got one of these where it's like trenching really underneath concrete and all these other things, and we're like, couldn't this have been, foreseen during the site audit or after the site audit? Why did it have to come up like afterwards? Like, oh shit, that's one of those tricky ones.
So the unforeseen contractor expenses, you guys, they do happen. I actually, in my agreements, I mitigate that. I tell the contractor, I say, look, if you guys submit for a permit, then what you're saying is that your site survey and your CAD were so on point that you decided to go ahead and apply for a permit for it. Your expertise says that it's time for a permit. Now, the moment you apply for that permit, then all of the adder liability is off of me, and it's now on you because you're saying that job is clear to go through that way. Now, if you guys find it at site survey or before permit, that's on me because I need to go back to the homeowner and explain things. But if you submit the permit, that should be on you. And contractors, half the time they'll sign that contract, and half the time they say hell no. But it's worth a shot sometimes, right?
Has anybody got questions about that kind of stuff? Again, those are the kind of things that you have to master in knowing what these costs are going to be as much as you can. But even some things are Oh, I'm hearing a backlash.
You're just logged into. Just mute one.
Oh yeah, that was okay, good. Yeah, so anyway, moving into milestone payments. Um, this one should be an easy one. We're going to talk
Hey,
about
Manny.
how. Yeah, go ahead, Simon. You there, Simon? Hello. All right, milestone payments. Do you wanna open this one up?
Yeah, sure. So milestone payments, you guys might have been, you might have heard those referred to as M payments, M1, M2, M3. Those are just milestone payments. Now, typically that term comes from a bank, like GoodLeap, for example, that many of you are familiar with. GoodLeap has milestone payments for the installer. So if you're an installer, if you go and sell a loan, your installer does not want to start spending money on that loan until they get something called notice to proceed. That's the bank telling them, we reviewed all the finances and we're willing to fund the project. So you have notice to proceed with your project. If the installer starts that project without notice to proceed, like site survey, CAD, and permit, they might have lost all of that money if the bank isn't willing to fund it. So as the installer progresses through the installation process, the bank is willing to give them, let's say the total amount the bank owes them is $30,000. The bank is willing to give them 10,000 on milestone 1, 10,000 on milestone 2, and 10,000 on milestone 3, which is usually permission to operate. Every bank is different with what those milestones are, and every bank has a different amount that they're going to give the installer at those milestone payments. One bank might give 20%, another might give 80. It really depends on the installer. But the banks are dictating to the installer how quickly that installer can start that project and move forward. Imagine if you went and sold 20 projects in a month, how much money that is needed by these installers to go buy your equipment, your conduit, your racking, pay the installers, pay the W-2s. Imagine how much money is just needed on just on 10 projects alone. So we use the banks for that, and the banks will give us milestone payments to go ahead and proceed. If those milestone payments aren't coming through, the installer will likely stop the project. Things that stop those milestone payments are you had the wrong customer sign the paperwork. You didn't put the title of the person that's on the title of the home. You just put the husband of the wife that's on the title of the home. There's many things that can stop this, but milestone payments in every single regard are considered loans until that project is PTO'd and funded. If a homeowner cancels on an installer, even though the installer got permit, then the bank gave a loan to the installer and the installer has not performed that project. So the installer now owes the money back to the bank, which means you owe the upfront payment that you received from your installer back to the installer because the project is not going through. I've actually had some people on social media argue that their upfront payment is not a loan, it's commission that they are owed. And I asked them, commission owed on what? And they said, for selling the project. And I say, oh, you get paid. Does your contract say that you get paid to sell the project or for the installs? And it clearly says for the installs, not for the sale. And so when they do get upfront payments, that is not commission. That is an advance on your commission because salespeople like myself tend to be very squeaky wheels. And we want upfront payments in order to keep performing our services. It's kind of a good measure, faith, a good measure that they're making payments to us. Now, the really high-end advanced sales reps do not want upfront payments. They don't want to deal with the accounting of it. They don't want to deal with clawbacks. The really good sales reps say, just pay me when you get paid. Pay me at install. They put themselves in the same bucket in the same field as the installer, and installers love the hell out of these guys for it. If you want special exceptions, if you want an adder taken away because you just forgot it or it's a weird circumstance, then you've got to give a little bit to the installers too, right? For those of you that are strong enough to put your payments at install, I'm sure everyone on this call that is paying anybody would appreciate that.
Well said. 100% agree with you on that. And yeah, milestone payments, as you guys know, with they vary from installer to installer. Some installers might front you money even though they're not getting fronted money from the bank. So You know, that's something to appreciate because they have to have deep pockets in order to do that, right? Because there are a lot of expenses that happen just from signing to site audit to design plans and permits. That's a lot of money, guys. So, and they're on top of that, they're giving you guys, you know, your advance. So that's pretty cool. Some installers just won't pay anything until it's done, and that's fine. So,
You know, the wildest concept to me, and I did this too, guys. I'm the same at Helio Gold. I did the same. The wildest concept to me is that we go to these installers and we say, if you don't pay us upfront payments, we're not selling for you. But these installers are looking at us like they want to backhand us because where's that money coming from? That's not coming from the homeowner. That's not coming from the bank. That's coming directly from their own bank account to pay my greedy little mouth that just said that I want money up front, or I'm not selling from. They're forced to do this right now because we're very sales heavy industry. They're forced to do it to compete. But I'm telling you right now, these companies are changing very slowly. They're changing the way that they're going to start paying us salespeople because so many people are screwing up the industry by taking these upfront payments, and the installers are fronting that cash to us. So what? Let me rephrase this. What we're really going to an installer and saying is, "Hey, mom, could I borrow $5,000? I'll pay you back as soon as I get it." And but we're expecting it though. We're not asking, we're expecting it. So be very, very, very careful how you word this and what your expectations are and what your mentality is, because you're expecting someone to do you a favor, and they're doing it because competition's forcing them, but that's changing. Be on the other side. Be the solution. Don't be the problem. Be the person that says, may I please have a little bit for the first few accounts and then I won't need it after that. Be that person. Anyway, a little bit of passion coming through there. I'll let it be.
much needed to hear that for sure. Okay, so I think we're gonna hop on to the last slide unless we have any impending questions that need to be answered about milestone payments. Speak now, forever hold your peace. All right, no, I think we did a pretty good job explaining that. So clawbacks from cancels. This is a business ruiner. It's a buzzkill. And this is the most expensive hit a company can take, especially specifically a sales organization. Um, it hurts. It hurts so bad to get clawed back, and it doesn't only hurt, you know, the sales rep. It hurts the company that's paying them. You know, whether it's us, whether it's anybody, even the installers are always taking hits on these things because they've put out, you know, they've put out site audits, they've put out designs, they've done all this stuff, and you know, when customers cancel after all that, a lot of installers, you know, they don't they take the hit with us, you know, but I think they're taking the most hit. So um, these things they hurt everybody in line. So definitely work hard on salvaging your customers. Like make that a top priority. Overselling your next job is go save that last one that just fell off, dude. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had to like I put myself in this like in this zone like this is not going to happen. This customer is not going to cancel. Like that's I mean I get that stubborn. um, sometimes it works to just open up and talk to your customer and say, hey, really, what is the problem, right? You know, let's see if we can fix it because now at this point, you know, you're very committed, and so am I. So anyway, that was my little passionate speech about clawbacks. I'll let Jake finish this one off, and I think this is the last slide. Yep. Um, go
Yeah,
ahead, man.
I want you guys to feel this. We're all, and I see my buddy Eddie Fernandez on here too. Hey Eddie. We're all extremely versed and well educated in solar. And a lot of people are on here, they follow me or they, you know, come to our events because they want to learn this stuff. So if all of us are telling you guys try to avoid taking upfront payments, it's because we also sold, and sometimes we can't see things until it's too late. Clawbacks really do hurt the industry. Upfront payments hurt the industry. I have a friend that had a sales org and ended up paying all of their salespeople all these upfront payments, and then a bunch of the jobs canceled, and they lost their installer. Okay, or they were no longer to install through that company because of a conflict of interest with another competitor. And so what happened was the company went and took back all of the clawbacks of all the cancels, except the sales reps had already left with all the upfront payments. So the owner of this company, much like Manny, imagine Manny paid out 100 of you guys upfront payments, and then all of you guys took those accounts somewhere else. The company that paid Manny is going to come back to him and ask for all of those upfront payments back. But you guys have already up and left and went to another organization, and you're like, no, I'm going to keep it. Manny is now going to prison for the 100 account, or he's at least going to get sued or something because everyone took off with all of his money because he trusted you guys, and the install company trusted Manny, and now everybody loses. Everybody loses. And so clawbacks can be very, very painful. And just so you guys know, I have to say these upfront payments, that's actually why Empire went out of business. Empire was so successful that they sold so many accounts, they had to give upfront payments to all of the people that sold these products, pulling money out of their account over and over and giving it to these reps. And then all of the reps started canceling and leaving, and now timelines skyrocketed because they have to lay off their install crews, and then the install crews can't get to the projects fast enough, and then everyone started leaving because the projects weren't fast enough, and it's a snowball effect from these upfront payments. So when clawbacks happen, I wouldn't encourage you guys to be excited about it. I would just encourage you to understand why it's happening and don't fight it. Just really understand why your commission's being taken away from you, and rather than fight it and be upset, come at it from an angle of empathy and understanding. Really try to grasp the concept of why it's happening. Are you looking into my soul, Manny?
Yeah, I am. No, I was just looking into the notes here. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have any questions because all right, looks like we're good. So yeah, clawbacks. Avoid that.
So I wanted
Yeah,
to finish by just explaining a couple things about the adders. Is that okay?
yeah. Do you want to go? Oh, share your screen.
Yeah.
All right, go
Um,
ahead, pull it up.
so I'll show you guys right here. Some of the adders on here that are interesting ones as to why they're expensive. Ground mounts, I'll tell you something interesting about those. When you're designing a ground mount, if you do have to get to the house, a lot of times they trench. You actually have to, the utility requires them to go a certain amount of inches down and a certain amount of inches wide. And then there's a whole bunch of different inspections for that. Once they dig that trench, they have to put plywood over it and let it sit, because then someone has to come and inspect that the exact measurements were dug. Once that inspection passes, then the install company can go back and then they can lay in the proper sediment that has to be put in there. And then that gets an inspection. I'm talking specifically about utility lines being changed, not conduit from the array. And then they have to inspect the sediment that's in there. Once that sediment has been inspected, then they inspect that the right type of gauge wiring was in there, inspect that. Then they have to fill it in again. 4 or 5 different inspections later, they're able to cover that trench up and pass inspection. You guys, every single time one of those inspections happen, they have to roll the trucks out. They have to pay for employees. You wonder why they have to cut through cement like a driveway. Why don't they just dig a hole into the ground and run the conduit underneath the driveway and then pull it back up the other side? It's because they'll never be able to pack dirt in the way that it was, and that driveway will crack right where they dug that hole underneath as soon as it starts to settle. Now you have a cracked driveway. So instead of doing that, they cut the cement like they're supposed to. And people try to avoid these things all the time, but they're there for a reason, right? Travel time. We talked about that a little bit. Travel time in Illinois, I have a client in the northern part of Illinois that wants to sell in the southern. Legally, you can only have your employees work for a certain amount of hours if they're W-2, which means if they're driving 3 hours one way, you have to get them a hotel. That's an added expense. So depending on the distance, sometimes there's adders. Flat roof, we already talked about. On a rolled comp roof, you have to buy these C cups, they call them. They're like plastic circles, and you fill it with chem curb. It's like an adhesive that hardens. Those things cost additional money. So these adders are not there to deter you from doing these things or to penalize you. These adders are there because they literally have to buy additional material in order to get this job up. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about those.
Right on, right on. Well, we've come to an end, and I just wanted to maybe talk a little bit about SolarCon. Did you want to drop anything about that? Your information, website on your Instagram or something?
Sure, you guys should come to SolarCon. I think we have about 70 speakers that are going to be up there. Eddie's going to be there. Manny's going to be there. About 70 different professionals from all across the country that are experts in their field, battery and storage, recruiting. We have manufacturers like SolarEdge is going to be there. It is the first time that our industry has all been under one roof. SPI is generally just equipment. You don't have the salespeople and the installers and the admins and all of those under there.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, man. I saw the lineup. I saw Sonova on there. I'm like, what? Dang.
All of them will be there.
That's awesome.
So attend solarcon.com is where you can go and get tickets. It's in April from the 21st through the 23rd. Anybody that goes there is going to get so much knowledge and information that you're just going to go back and probably be one of the highest end sales reps in your area.
You guys got to go there, Salt Lake City. And then lastly, I want to just give out my deepest and warmest thoughts for the citizens of Ukraine. I know, I mean, it's something that, like, as soon as I step out of this booth, I'm gonna see something. It's like, oh fuck, this is what's happening in the world. Just for me, like, just warm thoughts and feelings, because it's tough, man. It's tough to see what's going on, and we're just kind of sitting by, just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen next. And in the meantime, we gotta do business as usual. So that's all I wanted to give the folks of Ukraine a shout out real quick.
Thank
Acknowledge
you.
what's going on.
Well said.
All right, guys. Anything else? Hope we're not missing anything. We're going to cut the recording here, and as always, we're going to share that on YouTube. It'll be on there. All the topics that we talked about are going to be broken down in segments, so you guys can just go to it, fast forward it, and then if you want to learn more about adders or go back to it, you can always just reference that. This presentation is also going to have notes behind it in a PDF, and that's going to be in the YouTube description as well, with an email that goes out to you guys with all this information. And yeah, thanks again, Jake, man. I appreciate you taking the time to, for being a good friend and a great guy in the industry, man, just giving so much knowledge and wealth to everybody out there. And I know it's a pleasure to share what we know, because that's what we get up in the morning every day to do. We're not in this for ourselves. And that's why you guys are all here. And that's why I'm here, to present you guys with top-notch people like the ones we have in this room. And then just keep coming every Wednesday for more information. And then definitely check out the Solar Academy if you guys need, if you guys want Jake to tutor you, I don't know if that's the word, I'm sorry.
I love to.
Tutoring or mentoring. Yeah, so reach out to him. You guys he's not hard to find. He's on the internet. So all right, guys, have a great rest of the week. Sell some more deals, and yeah, we're waiting to help you sign these deals, man. So let's go.
Thank you, Manny.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Manny. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Take care, fellas.
Hey, man.